In 1859, a scientist known as Charles Darwin published his famous book regarding the theory of evolution called On the Origin of Species. Evolution is the process of living organisms developing and becoming more diverse over time. Before Darwin exposed the new evidence of evolution, people mainly believed that man was put on Earth by a divine source, God. Charles Darwin's research proved that that was not the case. However, many people still refuse to believe in evolution because it disrupts their faith, which is why evolution is still labeled as a theory, suggesting that evolution is not solid fact. Except evolution is fact. Evolution is real because it is the only way to explain the wide variety of species on our planet that share distinct similarities with other species. Evidence of evolution proves that we all came from a common ancestor. He realized that there were many similarities in bone structure and fossils. Many fossils showed animals that were completely different species from different parts of the world that had similar bone structure. He realized that, for example, chimps and monkeys had major similarities with humans, which came as a shock for the scientific community during Darwin's time. Darwin proposed that instead of coming from God, we came from apes.
There are even similarities between humans and whales. Whales have similar hand structure and rib cages. These undeniable sequences suggested the fact that we came from one common ancestor and branched off from that ancestor. This is better explained by Darwin's metaphorical tree of life. The idea that our original ancestors are the trunk of the tree and different species such as apes, monkeys, and humans are the branches of that tree, and those branches branch off into other species. To put this into perspective, there are over 50 different species of hummingbirds. Imagine how many branches have branched off from that original hummingbird ancestor.
A piece of evidence for evolution is biogeography. Biogeography deals with the geographical distribution of plants and animals. Darwin was perplexed when he realized that species from completely different parts of the world shared undeniable similarities. Darwin was particularly interested in finches that he found in the Galapagos. The finches also interested Peter and Rosemary Grant, a pair of scientists who studied finches in the Galapagos for over 20 years. They researched finches from different islands and realized a distinct change in beak size. Finches that lived on islands with long flowers had longer beaks in order to eat seeds, and vice versa. Darwin studied the fact that these species could adapt to their environment genetically.
Darwin also found evidence of seashells at the top of the Andes Mountains. His argument for how this connected to evolution was biogeography. He argued that if Earth can change with earthquakes and mountains being made, why can't animals adapt to those changes? This kind of adaptation is known as natural selection. The idea that the species that is most adapted to its habitat is most likely to survive than those who don't have the right structure to survive. Thus, the able-bodied organism who survived are able to reproduce and create a species that are more adapted to the environment. The reason why animals go extinct is because of natural selection. For example, imagine there are two different species of ants that can withstand pesticides and ants who cannot. Obviously, the pesticide-withstanding ants will be able to survive, prosper, and reproduce, while the non-withstanding ants will eventually die off. New species can be formed by advanced DNA and genetic mutations that actually help the organism survive.
The anatomy of living organisms is also a big part of evolution evidence. The term comparative anatomy, once again, is referring to the similarity in organism anatomies. Not only our bone structure, but our overall anatomy. Hearts, lungs, eyes, ears are organs that a lot of organisms share. We share almost the exact anatomy with apes and different species of monkeys: stomachs, mouths, tongues, and throats. Darwin knew that these similarities weren't just coincidences. Along with comparative anatomy comes comparative embryology. Comparative embryology is the fact that organisms go through the same stages before birth within the embryo. This could possibly be the most compelling evidence backing up the fact that we all came from a common ancestor. Or maybe the most compelling evidence is vestigial organs. Vestigial organs are organs in a certain organism that are remnants of ancestral functions that came from the past. For example, snakes have remnants of pelvis and leg bones from their ancestors. In conclusion, evolution is unavoidable. The evidence is backed up against you. There's no way we as humans could have got here without it.